Katy Peternel.
Hi.
Welcome to the Granite Discourse.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
This is awesome. It's been a while. We've been working hard trying to get me on the show. So.
Yeah, we have. It's good to get you here. So I don't want to assume your gender, but you are the first female guest on the Granite Discourse.
I was going to mention that if you didn't.
So how long have you been a state representative for?
This is my second term, so 3 years.
And what was your biggest drive to want to be a state rep?
I was actually asked to run back in, I think it was 2016 or 2018, but my kids were still at home and there was just no way that I was going to be able to pull that off. So the thought had never entered my mind before that. So I was kind of surprised that somebody had even thought that I would be a candidate. And then in 2022, I started I guess it was COVID, of course. I started paying more attention to politics. And then in 2022, back that up. In 20, I had supported one of our local state reps. And it was probably the first state rep campaign that I really started paying attention to. And then started noticing how he was voting. And one day there were a couple of votes that were not so good, and I kind of threw my hands up and said, oh, it looks like I have to do this myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's how I ended up doing it.
What district do you represent?
Carroll, District 6, Wolfboro and Tuftonboro. 2
towns?
Yep, 2 towns.
So you weren't very political before you were a state representative at all?
No, not at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Because every time I've talked to you before, you're very knowledgeable about what's going on with the state. And so that's very surprising to me.
Well, my knowledge is mostly recent history, but yeah, it was trial by fire for the most part. Yeah.
So what is your background prior to this?
I was a nurse, but I had let my license lapse after my youngest daughter was born. It wasn't feasible for me to work. In New Hampshire, you have to work in order to maintain your license. I think you have to work 200 hours a year or something like that. So it just didn't fit in with our family because we wanted me to stay home with the kids. And then we started homeschooling. So I homeschooled for, I guess, 20 years before I became a state rep. And prior to becoming a state rep, I had taken on a couple of jobs like gardening and teaching yoga and doing some caregiving, really trying to figure out what to do next with my life. And then the state rep thing came up. So 2022 was your first election. Mm-hmm. How did that race play out? Did you primary? I primaried. Well, there were 2 incumbents, and I was primarying, I guess, in theory, both of them.
And you knocked them out?
One of them, yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
The target.
Yeah. What was it that made you worry about the way that they're voting? He wasn't.
I'm pro-life. Let's say that he wasn't voting that way. He wasn't supporting what he had told me he would support. He didn't support the mask bill at that time. So that was a big issue for me because of COVID. I didn't like the masking anywhere. And there were a couple of other bills. Oh, there was a free speech bill that he voted against.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that one really put me over the edge.
So you were a nurse, and then you left that to do homeschooling. So you started homeschooling 20 years ago, you're saying?
In 2002 would have been the first year that we homeschooled.
And what drove you to want to do that?
Funny story. We had just moved to Wolfboro in '95, and my husband and I were into mountain biking and road biking at the time. So our first stop was the Nordic Skier in Wolfboro to meet people because we wanted to learn the trails and what roads were good because they didn't have Strava back then. And I ended up, some of the first people we met were homeschoolers. And I thought, oh, that's kind of an interesting idea. What's that all about? And then as time went on, I met more homeschoolers and thought it would be a good idea. And so we started out, I guess when my daughter was 4, she had been in daycare because I was still working a little bit. So when she was about 4, we she quit going to daycare, and that's when we made the commitment to homeschool. And she's 29 now, so.
And does she have kids?
One.
Does she homeschool?
She probably won't be able to, but I don't know if she would or not. Yeah.
Did she enjoy it?
She probably did. Yes, she did. Yeah. My kids all have mixed feelings about it.
Do they?
Yeah. They were very social. They liked being connected with the school. They all played sports. Some of them were team captains at the local high school. And actually the kids in the school would say, well, how come I never see you in the halls? That's how well they fit in, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
So.
How much do you think has changed in the last 20 years as far as homeschooling goes?
I think from what I've heard, because I haven't been involved myself in the homeschool communities for quite a while, but it sounds like parents are looking more for drop-off opportunities in terms of co-ops and things like that. When I started, we had a lot of play groups, so I was always organizing a play group or a class or something like that in my house. We would have parent moms and their kids come over, and it was like a way for the moms to take a break, and the kids would go play, and then we would talk about the good, bad, and ugly of homeschooling, and then, go on our way. Or we would organize field trips, and we would all do that together. We had pretty often we had informational meetings. We actually got together in person. I think that was a little more frequent back then than it is now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We homeschool our oldest right now, and we've found some homeschool parents that my wife will make play dates with, and they'll go to certain, like there's a farm in Wolfboro that they'll go to and just spend the day there. But most of the homeschooling's online that we do through a computer. Did you do it through a computer?
Oh, we did some classes through, online. The Virtual Learning Academy Charter School had just started. I think it was around 2012 when we first started taking advantage of that. So there were classes you could take for free on there. You could become an enrolled student. My youngest actually did become an enrolled high school student through VLAX because I knew she was going on to play college soccer, and I didn't want to have to jump through the hoops of proving to the NCAA that I had taught her how to read in first grade. I knew there was going to be a lot of paperwork in the transcripts to prove a high school education.
Really? We haven't gotten that far yet. We've had to do an evaluation, but it was pretty easy. So,
I was just anticipating the college transcript aspect of it. And she was also mostly only motivated by the soccer ball. So I needed a few more hooks to get her to focus on schoolwork.
So what are some of the biggest things that you've been working on at the Stay House?
Oh, I don't think I had any super big bills this year, except I became the advisor to the speaker. So that's taken a little time in different directions because I have to be there for meetings, different meetings. Even over the summer, I've had to be there a few times for meetings with people. So that's probably for me right now the biggest thing that I've been working on. I'm also the clerk of the Judiciary Committee, and that's a significant amount of work during the hearings.
What does that entail?
You take all the notes for the minutes, and then you have to put everything in order, keep track of everybody who's testified, record the votes in the executive sessions. You become, when you're the clerk, it's a really important role because whatever you write down is the record.
Really?
Yep.
And the advisor to the speaker, what do you do as far as that? What are your duties?
I don't technically have a job description. The speaker wanted to add a few more people to the roster, if you will, of his leadership team so he could get some different viewpoints. So he created the position of advisor to the speaker. There were supposed to be two, but we had the former speaker pro tem step down, and one of the advisors stepped into that position. So
what is he kind of? I've never met is Sherman Packard. I've never met him before. So what is he like?
He's a great guy. He's pretty quiet, but he has a wealth of knowledge. Was first elected in 1991.
He's been in there since 91.
91, yeah.
Wow.
So the level of institutional knowledge is tremendous. He's served on every leadership position in the House at one time or another. Yeah, it's pretty remarkable.
That's, 33 years?
Mm-hmm.
How old is he?
He's in his 70s.
Yeah.
I try not to ask people how old they are. There's a wide range of ages in the State House, and some of the people are up there in years, and they're sharp as tacks.
I'm surprised to see how many younger people are in the State House, because I feel like 15, 20 years ago, it was to be a New Hampshire state rep, you needed to have like a lot of them are either on fixed incomes or they had some passive income. And you see that now, but you're seeing a lot of younger people that are involved in tech that can work remotely. They have more manageable lives than somebody that has to get up and go to work every day at a construction job or like a 9 to 5.
Yeah, it would be almost impossible if you had to work 9 to 5 Monday through Friday to pull this job off, unless you had time off from work.
Because even though they're not in session, they're still meeting at the State House now?
No, July to August, we're not supposed to be there, but you can have special permission from the speaker, or sometimes there's reasons that you have to be there. I was there twice this week, once to help a constituent. So I attended a meeting with a constituent, and I had a meeting yesterday with the speaker.
What do you think the most challenging vote you've had to make so far has been?
There was a vote last year that it was overriding a veto of Sununu's, and it had to do with fertilizer and the application of fertilizer and how close to a storm drain you could be, and there were penalties attached. So it was basically, Sununu had vetoed it because looked like you were ratting out your neighbors.
Yeah.
Because that would be the only way to enforce it. And living in Wolfboro on the lakes, I do want clean lake water, but I also like a more limited government, and I thought this was definitely extending into government overreach, and I voted for that bill to override his veto, and that was one of the hardest bills I've ever voted for, but because things have to look good for the people on the lake, you have to support a wide variety of constituents, and we do have issues with cyanobacteria, and whether that's from runoff and erosion from building or phosphorus in the fertilizer. There's a lot of factors at play. So if we have to limit the amount of fertilizer going into the lakes, then that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Mm. So did it pass, the override?
It did.
Really?
Yep.
So now...
Actually, that was a bill that had been on the consent calendar. So it wasn't necessarily a bill that we may have paid attention to in the House. So when we have a session day, it's called the House calendar, and that comes out just about every week throughout the year, and it lists all of the bills that we're going to be voting on. And the bills that are on consent calendar have come out of committee, typically with unanimous or close to unanimous votes, and so we take that chunk of bills on the consent calendar, and they usually pass, or, well, depending on the recommendation, they're recommended ought to pass or inexpedient to legislate, and we'll pass all of those bills on a voice vote. So it may just not be picked up on our radar because we're reading summaries from the committee, unless the bill catches your eye and you want to dig deeper, and that doesn't seem to have been one that people dug deeper on. Now,
does it take just one member to raise awareness to a vote that's about to be passed through consent? Like, if you guys are going to do it on a voice vote, let's say you see a bill about to go through a voice vote, can you raise awareness to make it debatable?
You have to pull it off the consent calendar ahead of time. So you would contact the clerk's office, and then you have to come up with 10 people who are willing to help you pull that off the consent calendar. Apparently, there was a rep years ago who pulled a whole bunch of bills off of the consent calendar. When a bill is pulled off of the consent calendar, it goes to the end of the schedule for that day. So the chances of a bill passing or failing, depending on how you want it to go, at the end of the day, people don't have much there's not much patience left at the end of the day for a bill that's been pulled off consent.
People are ready to go.
We're done. Yeah. So it better be a good reason to pull it off. So anyway, this rep pulled a whole bunch of bills off the consent calendar and then left.
Yeah, I've watched some of those here at some of the sessions, and you guys are there for 9 or 10 hours some days.
It's long sometimes. Yeah.
Is it climate controlled in there?
Sometimes it's a little warm.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little cold, but for the most part, it's not too bad.
Yeah. It can get rowdy sometimes, too.
It can be really fun sometimes.
I know it was HB2. There was a bunch of back and forth when you guys were putting that through.
That was stressful. I'm not involved in the negotiations in terms of the actual debating in the committee about what gets put on the bills, on the budget bills. That's the finance committee. We have some say. We can always contact the committee members and say, hey, what are you doing? Or we don't like this. And the more people you have behind you saying, hey, why are you doing this? They can add or subtract items from those bills. But so they're a little more focused on what's going on those days. I found it to be kind of fun because it was so stressful, and it was really tense. And in fact, last biennium we had really close numbers with the Democrats, and we never knew which direction a vote was going to go. I mean, we were counting votes, but sometimes a bill would pass by one vote, or actually most of the time it passed or failed by one vote last session. So it was. I forgot that was kind of fun, the tension of waiting to see how a bill...
And to see if everybody showed up, too, because Brian Labrie was saying that's part of the reason why he wanted to run, was that it was so close that just having one person not show up could screw everything up.
Oh, yeah. There was one day I had been not feeling well in the morning. I went in the afternoon, and somebody said, Katie, your vote counted on that bill.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And it was like, yeah, I know. I mean, all of us could say that our vote counted, if it went the way we wanted, but it was a good thing I showed up that day. Yeah. I mean, I show up every day that I can. That was an exception. I'm not usually.
Yeah.
I don't just take days off lightly.
How many days a week do you go down there?
It depends. Last term when I was on the Education Committee, I felt like I was there 5 days a week. It was usually 4. Because we had so many bills. And then this year, a little less often, but still 3-4 days a week during session. It tapers off depending on how many bills we have and what's going on.
So you moved here from another state. Which state you come from?
I grew up in Ohio.
What pushed you to move to New Hampshire?
Oh, my husband had gone to school in Maine, and he wanted to come back to New England. And so, now mind you, this was 1995. It was before the Free State Project.
I think you knew where I was going.
Yes. But you could say, we did pick the freest state.
Yeah.
I will say that.
That's a lucky pick.
Well, he had lived in Maine, and he said Vermont was definitely out of the question. Massachusetts was definitely out of the question, and so that left New Hampshire.
Well, if you lived in Maine right now, I bet you wouldn't be too happy.
I keep watching Maine, and I keep thinking we have to keep electing Republicans because that's exactly how New Hampshire could be so easily.
It's always an election away.
Yep.
So what kind of a Republican would you classify yourself as?
Well, I've been called Free Stater. I've been called, I'm definitely more liberty-leaning, I would say. Yeah.
But not a libertarian?
No, not necessarily a libertarian, but I do like limited government, without a doubt. Yeah. And one of the interesting things is once I became a state rep, I found it really hard to have normal conversations with people because almost everything we talked about, I wanted to say, oh, we had a bill about that. And you realize like how entrenched government is in our lives, and we have no idea on a daily basis. It's astonishing. It's just plain wrong, really. We can't barely breathe without asking permission.
Well, when you're in the role that you're in, that you're entrenched in it. So every decision that you're voting on, you see in it day to day. And people don't realize that, I don't think. A lot of people don't know that. I mean, there's people that don't know that there is even a Congress within the state.
No, without a doubt.
What's a state rep?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. They don't, like, and people I talk to, they'll be like, are you still doing that political thing?
The political thing.
Yeah, I'm your state rep. I'm making decisions for you every single day.
Wow.
But, on that note, like one day I was on my way home from Concord. It was a session day, and we had spent the whole day voting, obviously. And this one woman at the grocery store, she said, are you Katy? And I said, yes. And she said, oh, I voted for you. And I said, oh, I spent the whole day voting for you.
That's awesome.
And there was another woman standing there, and she said, that was the nicest thing I've heard all day. And so you never know how those conversations are going to go. Mm-hmm. But I really was representing, if she voted for me, I'm pretty sure that I voted the way she wanted that day. That's pretty cool.
Do you get encounters that go the opposite direction?
Yeah, mostly I see those online.
Just online?
Yeah. Yeah, people, I haven't had really any, well, I've had negative encounters, but they're mostly, I call them like the We Hate Katy meetings, where we're supposed to have a meet and greet, but it's the Democrats that come and just complain about everything I've done.
They show up at the meet and greets?
There was I had one meet and greet for the last election, and yeah, it was all, I had friends there, but for the most part, it was a lot of Democrats who just wanted to harass my votes.
Wasn't there one meet and greet last year that or maybe it was a debate? There was like a debate that was scheduled and it got canceled, but then it got rescheduled?
Oh, that was an interesting one, yes.
Can you tell people about that?
Yep. The League of Women Voters had been asked to organize a candidates forum.
And are you involved in the League of Women's Voters?
No, I'm not.
Okay. But
they're a nonpartisan organization, and
wink, wink.
Wink, wink. And they supposedly had reached out to all of the candidates, but I didn't find out about it until, I don't know, it was like a month. It was after the primary, I think, that I found out about this candidates forum. And I'm pretty sure I did have plans that day. I had tickets that I had purchased for an event like months ahead, and I was not going to cancel that event.
What was the event?
It was the New Hampshire Right to Life
yep.
banquet, and Abby Johnson, who's one of my pro-life heroes, was going to be there, like somebody who I've always wanted to meet. And I wasn't going to miss that opportunity. Because I missed seeing her when she was at Dartmouth in 2010 maybe. And I thought, well, I'm not going to wait for her to come back to New Hampshire 14 years. So anyway, I told the league that I wasn't going to be able to attend, that I had a prior engagement. And then it turned out that most of the Republicans hadn't been informed in advance that this was taking place, but all the Democrats had known for months about it.
How far out? So by the time you knew about it, how far out was it?
I'm pretty sure it was about a month at the most. But we supposedly had been booked back in March. The room had been booked back in March.
And what time of the year was this?
September.
Oh.
After the primary. Yeah.
Then, so you couldn't make it, and there weren't any Republicans that showed up, right?
No.
And then they used that to pretty much smear Republicans.
Right, but we all won anyway.
Nice. The last election was when I really started paying attention to the local politics more. I've paid attention to a point, but you see how things can really change just by looking over the border, and it doesn't take long. And then you see some of the people that are running, and I mean, it's funny to hear all the smearing going on about the Free State Project, and you're seeing a lot of, I think that there's an event coming up where they're having a whole meeting about the Free State Project.
Oh, in Moultonboro.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that.
And how there are people from out of state coming to change their state. But if you look at the people that were running on the Democrat side, a lot of them are from out of state too.
Well, not only that, but the state of New Hampshire is always looking for people to move to the state. So why would that make the Free State Project any different than any other group in New Hampshire trying to find people? I mean, if you are starting a business in New Hampshire, building a factory or something, you're going to want people to move to New Hampshire because we won't have enough workers with the population base that we have right now. So we need more people moving. We need more young people in New Hampshire.
Absolutely. I think that we need a lot of more liberty-minded people too, because some of these people that you see coming from like California, New York, New Jersey, when they run for office here, how do you think they're going to vote? They're going to vote like they would if they lived in California, New York, or New Jersey. Yeah,
most of the people I've met who've moved here are more Republican.
That's what I've heard as well.
Yeah.
There has been there's been a huge influx of people moving here, and the majority of them luckily have been Republicans. They're fleeing states that have been just in disarray from liberal policies. And when you see those people though running on the Democrat side, I don't think that they lose because they don't represent New Hampshire, because they don't understand New Hampshire. New Hampshire's always been a very liberty-minded state. That's what I've always loved about it. I lived in Maine for a little bit of time, and I was happy to move back because just the way that the spirit of the people is just so much different. Maine has kind of a, what would be the word? It's like they've given up, and it's sad.
That being said, though, I've met several Republican state reps from northern areas in Maine, and they have not given up. They're fighting harder than ever.
I know some people that I have family that lives up in northern Maine, and they're just kind of disconnecting from the whole political side of things because they feel like Portland's making all the decisions.
Yeah, that's too bad, because even in Maine, it's still small enough. Their population's smaller than ours, I believe. They could still make a difference if they were just a little noisier. But they do have definitely a Democratic base. I mean, they have the immigrants that they've brought into the Lewiston and Auburn area that has completely changed that area.
Yeah.
And the whole coastal area with Portland and stuff, that's a draw for
liberals.
Probably more liberals. Yeah.
I think if New Hampshire had more coastline, we'd have more Democrats moving here.
Very possible.
That's one thing I was thinking.
Good thing we only have 18 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although we are trying to incorporate the Gulf of New Hampshire into it.
I thought I heard something about that. Yeah. Who came up with that?
Oh, we have some clever House members. Every once in a while, they come up with some really funny comments, and that was one of the best ones.
Did you vote to make it legal to have squirrels? Did you see that one?
I think I voted against
for Chippy the squirrel.
Yes,
I'd love to have my own squirrel.
No, that was a tabling motion. I think we tabled that bill. I can't remember. No, yeah, I'm pretty sure we tabled that bill.
You don't want people to own squirrels.
Well, you know what? It's funny because, no, but that whole squirrel thing was so weird. Like if you went into the background of Peanut the squirrel, I don't know, that family was a little unusual. There were some shaky things going on.
Was there?
Yeah, I can't remember all the details, but I remember somebody commenting on it, and I went back and looked, and I'm like, this is really weird.
Like, because they sent a SWAT team in for that squirrel, right? Or is it more?
Yeah, but I think there was more to the story, and the husband was like a bodybuilder, and they were using the squirrel like on social media.
Yeah.
They were like posing and flexing with the squirrel all the time. I don't know, just kind of. I don't know. I suppose we should not judge.
Nah, I mean,
squirrel parents.
you can have snakes and reptiles and all sorts of exotic pets.
Yeah, they don't carry rabies, and that's what people are worried about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But rats can. You can have rats, chipmunks.
That's true.
A lot of stuff that you can have that could carry dogs.
Yep.
But we obviously have rabies vaccines for dogs.
Right.
What do you think the biggest thing that brings everybody together in the State House is?
Both sides of the aisle?
Both sides.
I don't know if there's one issue that brings everybody together in the State House, but I would say regardless of what side of the aisle your representative is on, they truly think they're doing the best they can for the state of New Hampshire. And they all work really hard. And that's what I maintain. So even if you don't necessarily appreciate the philosophical viewpoint of your state rep, I can guarantee that they're working hard on a regular basis to stand up for what they think is right and what their constituents voted for them to do. I mean, you might not be the constituent that voted for them to do that, but if they're voting for the majority of their constituents, I'd say everyone pretty fairly represents their people.
Mm-hmm. What happened with the assisted suicide? Did that go?
It failed the House, yeah.
What kind of testimony would you hear on that?
You hear both sides. People who say it's wrong to take somebody else's life, and other people who say it's just compassion. Maybe somebody wants to die. It was presented this year as the Freedom to Die Act. It has various names. Each year the name changes. In other states, the names are all different depending on what bill passed. So it's more like compassionate, like I have a right to die if I want to die. I don't know where you don't have a right to die.
So you don't support that legislation?
I don't, no.
Canada has it now, and they're actually doing it for people that are depressed.
It's creeping, and that's one of the things we've had disability rights groups come in, and they oppose the bill because the disabled are worried that that's what an option would be. There was actually a letter to the editor written by a transgender person who had been depressed and had multiple times providers say things to her like, wow, if I had your life, I don't know if I would still be alive. So it was definitely an option, and she was spoke in opposition to the bill. Yeah.
I can see disabled people being worried because if you have somebody that's disabled and they don't have the power of attorney, can somebody make that decision for them? Not
the way the bill is written.
No. But could that be a foot in the door for future legislation?
That's something that I would fear, yes. Yeah. Or the medications at home, the patient is supposed to give them, self-administer the medication.
Somebody else could get a hold of that.
They could. Yeah, I mean, what if they were disabled to the point where they couldn't get the medication? You know, they couldn't get out of bed or up off the chair to go get the medication. Somebody has to hand it to them. Or if they can't move their arms or legs, someone would have to give it to them. So I don't know, there's a lot of gray area. And they always like, the proponents of the bill like to say that it's narrowly crafted and it couldn't be abused, but there's always creep. There's always mission creep in almost any legislation.
Would it allow suicide just for depression?
No, you have to, it wouldn't allow it for depression, but you would, trying to think of, you had to have two physicians agree that you were a good candidate. Oh, no, not for depression. Sorry. Now I'm remembering. You had to be within 6 months of dying of a terminal illness to be prescribed the medication. That's what it was. Sorry. It's been a little while since I've thought about it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just worry about that stuff because in Canada they're doing it for depression, and
Right.
like you guys, like we have a mental health crisis as it is, and talk about just giving up on it, huh?
Yeah, there was another rep who said as the end of his testimony, he said, if we pass this bill, I'll submit a bill to repeal all of the suicide prevention laws.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. This is what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah. I like that people are pretty blunt in the State House when it comes to certain bills, and there's a lot of fire in the commentary that you hear. So the debates that you see, people give it their all. It seems like
sometimes, yeah, yeah, it's pretty fun. Sometimes you're wishing the person would stop talking. We are suggested that we speak for 3 minutes because after 3 minutes, our attention span disappears.
And where is that, in the well?
Yeah, when speaking from the well, or just about any time we're giving testimony or anything like that. Keep it brief and to the point, and have people ask questions if you want to extend your debate. But yeah, people lose their attention span after 3 minutes. So
the state has a lot of, so everything that they do is on YouTube. So anybody that wants to see these testimonies, they can go in there and watch it themselves. But then they just have to keep an eye on the calendar so they know what's being heard and
right.
what's being talked about. So on the judiciary, you said you saw some of the bathroom.
Yes, we had House Bill 148, and I think it was 268 was the Senate bill. Senate Bill 268.
This is what the governor vetoed recently.
She vetoed House Bill 148, yes.
How about the Senate bill?
That we retained that in committee.
Okay. So what does that mean?
Retained in committee, it means we can work on it some more, and it will have to go to the floor for a vote in January, most likely.
But not this year?
No, not this year.
Okay.
So we retained that bill. We don't work on any retained bills until the fall. So in September, we can start technically going back to the State House and, sorry, not the State House, the LOB, the Legislative Office Building, to work on any retained legislation. And
do you think it has a shot next year?
I think we're going to have to work with the governor for it to have a shot, because if it's a similar bill.
I don't understand why it would even be an issue to begin with, because I mean it's a bill to keep men out of girls' spaces.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know what the. She said it was broad, which it was, but I know that bill had been worked on quite extensively, and that seemed to be the general consensus, was that it needed to be broad. So I'm not sure what the governor wants. I would be happy to work with her to get a bill across that she would sign. Well,
I don't think it really needs to be that difficult of a decision. It should be broad. Keep men out of women's spaces.
Well, one of the problems that we have is that in 2018, gender identity was added to our anti-discrimination laws.
Okay.
So gender identity is included in that bill, and that's something that outside organizations have opposed the bill for, because we're not allowed to discriminate based on gender identity. So it gets a little fuzzy about who's identifying as how people are identifying in terms of which space they use. So it's not 100% clear, because it's based on biological sex, but how we determine that isn't clear in the law. But that was intentional, so that any entities who were this was enabling legislation. It wasn't a mandate. So any entity that was going to and utilize this law, they would have to create their own policy within their own organization for how they determine who is using which space.
Which is kind of how it is now, where they're allowing it, right? So if you go to like a Planet Fitness right now, I could go into a girl's locker room in a Planet Fitness, I'm pretty sure, because their policy doesn't stop it.
Probably not, yeah.
And if you were to complain about it, you would probably get kicked out.
I've heard of those kinds of things happening. Yes, there's somebody who testified that she had been at the YMCA, I believe.
The YMCA, that was in New Hampshire, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's that's an issue that really needs to be addressed. Like that is discriminating against her, I think, because she has to be in there with a man.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The people who say that they're being discriminated against want rights for a single individual. They come in and all the testimony, they're like, it's just a few people. It's just a few people. Well, yeah, we don't. The majority doesn't have to protect the rights of one. I mean, how should I put it? Not like that. The rights of one individual doesn't supersede the rights of the majority. So they're demanding rights for a very small group of people. I mean, rights that aren't even natural. I mean, when I was running for election, I had a tough door knock with a man, and I said, really, we shouldn't even need to enumerate the rights of each of these groups, because if we just treated people like human beings, there wouldn't be discrimination. Of course, we have people who discriminate. You can't fix people's viewpoint. But really, at the end of the day, we just need to treat each other like human beings. Mm-hmm. So, but that being said, women's spaces are being invaded mm-hmm. on a daily basis. And when we talk about like the sports thing, they say, oh, it's just one soccer player. Well, that one soccer player is affecting the 22 other soccer players on that field. So it's not just one person. You've got 22 girls who are being told to be quiet for that one individual who's the transgender. And that's wrong. That's reverse bullying. Mm-hmm. All those other 22 girls are the ones who are being bullied, not that one individual.
I thought I heard something that there was something like 900 scholarships that have been pretty much taken from biological girls and given to transgender girls.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that number. To be honest with you, I'm more worried about even the back of the pack players, the girl who gets cut from the team mm-hmm. because somebody took her place at the top. Because some of the testimony that we hear is, well, they just want to play soccer. I said, well, yeah, so did the girl who got cut from the team. And now you have someone who doesn't have the same biology taking her place. Mm-hmm. And then people will say, oh, she just has to train harder. Well, that's not really fair, because a girl will never, equally matched, a woman will not outcompete a male.
No. And that male just can't compete with the other males. That's why they're there to begin with.
Right. Oh, won 900 medals.
UN study reveals transgender athletes have won nearly 900 medals in women's competitions. So it's from the UN.
That's a significant number.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
I would say so, because I had somebody get mad at me when I was talking about it, and they said, well, what is it, one person? I said, well, that one person could be my daughter.
Oh, very easily. There's a track coach from Maine who contacted me last year when we had the women's sports bill, and he was a cross-country coach, and he said he got up to the starting line, and he was like, what is that? And it was a boy mm-hmm. competing as a girl, and took one of his athletes' slots.
So what happens to people when they speak up against this? Because you have daughters that have been in sports. You've heard all the testimonies. What are they saying?
Well, they get sidelined. Your daughter will be most likely ostracized for standing up. And one of the things that really bothers me is people say, why are these girls playing? Why don't they just walk off the field? Well, because they want to play.
Yeah.
And no parent wants to tell their daughter they have to be the one to stand up. And so if parents, even like me, who didn't stand up before, need to stand up now. But it's hard, because if you're talking about a high school student who's the transgender athlete, you're talking about a child, another child. And you don't want to hurt that child's feelings either. And you don't want to there's already attention drawn to that child. You don't necessarily want to be the family drawing more attention to that child and making a big deal of it. It's a really hard place to be in.
It is, because it's really easy for the people that disagree with you to make you seem like a bigot.
Right. And it has nothing to do with lack of compassion for the child. In fact, when when this happened with my kids, my daughter came home and said, "Mom, this isn't fair. What can we do?" I mean, she was in middle school.
How long ago was this?
I want to say 2014-ish.
11 years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was an issue in the schools back then.
Yeah, I had heard that it was happening, and we were caught off guard. I mean, who would have thought that we were going to end up where we are now?
How many parents felt the same way you did?
There were a good number. Definitely all the homeschool parents, or most of them. I don't know about how many of the public school parents really felt that way. Yeah. I know one mom had called the principal to talk about it and was told the family's looking for a lawsuit.
So,
and maybe not even the family, maybe the organizations that were also supporting them in their decision.
What can be a good alternative to this? Is there any other things that we could do? Could we have 3 different leagues? Men, women's, and then trans? Or somebody suggested to me just have trans people compete with the men.
I heard that recently.
Yeah.
I thought, yeah, not a bad idea. I don't know. I mean, because if a woman transitioned to a man and tried to participate in men's sports,
it's not going to go well.
She won't win. Yeah. Why would you even try?
Are they using like equal opportunity as a way to promote this, and how does that conflict with women that aren't feeling like they're getting the equal opportunity that they deserve?
That's the point I keep trying to make, is that the equal opportunity is being removed for women. And we had Title IX for a reason, and this kind of negates Title IX.
Right.
And actually men lost with Title IX too, because they've had sports eliminated because some of the funding from their college sports has to go support the women's teams, because the women's teams don't draw the viewers and they don't make as much money. So the money from the big winning teams like football and basketball in particular has to be siphoned off to the other teams. Mm-hmm. And so if the men's team isn't a draw, I know one school, I talked to a young man, I can't remember which school it was, but his lacrosse team had been eliminated from the
whole team?
The team, yeah, no more lacrosse at the college. No more men's lacrosse at the college that he was attending.
Wow.
And I can't remember which college it was, but I was just really surprised that they eliminated a sports team.
Over Title IX. Funding.
I don't know if it was over Title IX, but I would assume it was funding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another controversial issue, I guess I don't think it's really that controversial, is puberty blockers, giving that to minors. That passed.
Yes.
And now, did that get vetoed as well?
No, that's in the enrollment process, which means it's waiting to be signed by the governor.
And how long does that take?
The enrollment process can take a little while. It might be August before some bills get signed.
And do you think that will go through?
I sure hope so.
Can you tell people what that did?
That bill prohibits the prescribing of cross-sex hormones or any medication that inhibits puberty, unless there's a medically necessary reason, in minors. In minors, not adults, minors.
What is a medically necessary reason to?
There are people who have something called precocious puberty. So they're entering puberty early, and so the puberty blockers will be given in those situations, just for a limited time until the child catches up biologically.
Mm-hmm. All these bills, they passed along party lines, pretty much.
Yeah, we had a couple of Democrats who came over and voted in support of protecting children.
Jonah Wheeler was one of them, right?
Yeah.
And he got ostracized from his party as well.
Well, he spoke at the well, too, which is the capital offense.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, it's one thing to vote quietly. It's another thing to speak in opposition to your party.
So he really believed in it. He believed in that vote that he cast.
Yeah, and I think he really did listen to all sides before. I know Jonah not really, really well, but well enough. I'm sure he did his homework before he came to that conclusion.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough to be on one side and know that you're gonna catch hell for that.
Yeah. That's a big one too for them. That's the Democrats' identity.
Why?
I don't know why. I listen to the testimony, and I sit next to in committee. I sit next to an older man who's a Democrat, and when I look at him, I don't know. I really can't figure out how they think that this gender is fluid. And actually, I heard something about that like 20 years ago. Somebody saying, "Oh, like our sexuality, it changes, it's fluid," and I thought. And that confused me back then. And then now when I see these people talking about your body is fluid, your body changes, but people are really focused on their identity and who they are. I mean, we see a lot of people with tattoos. So people are doing things to their body in our culture right now to present their identity. They're always searching. There's a lot of that internal psychological stress, I guess, that's going on for a lot of people.
Do you think we have too much first world privilege?
I like to say we just need to go outside. We don't work hard enough.
Yeah.
I think we need more physical work.
Too much.
We do have a lot of privilege. We have a lot of sitting around.
Yeah.
We have a lot of screen time, myself included, unfortunately. Yeah. And when you realize, sometimes you get caught up in it and you're like, oh, I gotta stop. I gotta go outside.
Do you ever set a limit on it?
On mine?
Yeah, the well-being that pops up once a week. You can see how much screen time you've had and where you've had it.
I actually don't have that pop up on mine, but I'll leave my phone inside and I'll come into a message like, why didn't you answer my call?
I like leaving the phone inside and just working outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do that too.
Mm-hmm.
I get away from it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's also a good time to listen to podcasts.
Yeah. So yeah, that is one good thing. We used to have iPods and sound players. Everything's on that one single device now. Mm-hmm. So everything's at your fingertips. So it's so addictive. Yeah,
it's so addictive. We had this is a funny story. I think we had an old Kindle.
Yep.
That needed the battery to be charged, and my 2-year-old granddaughter was carrying it around like it was a tablet, but it needed to be. And we went to the grocery store, and the clerk said, oh, that needs to be charged. And we all laughed that this is how the demise of our society, that she's just carrying a screen out of a habit that she's already seen and noticed. And then I took it home and I charged it, and she was just randomly tapping at it, watching it light up. But it was a Kindle. It was the old kind that all you could do was read on it.
Yeah.
But she was frantically tapping on it, and we took it away. I said, that's really, really a little disarming. Not disarming, alarming.
Yeah, I grab my phone and I'll see that I have 20 pictures and it's all of my daughter's forehead. But one thing that we've been good about is that she'll grab it and she'll look at it and she'll hit the button. She likes looking at pictures on it. Mm-hmm. But I can say, okay, all done. And she'll say, all done. And she'll put it down and she'll walk away from it.
Yeah.
So I definitely notice myself when I'm on the phone too much. I definitely notice it just by their behavior.
Oh, right.
It's a good mirror. If they're doing it too much, it means I'm doing it too much.
Right.
So I need to, put it down, put it over there and not touch it.
So, one of the bills that we did pass was the prohibition of cell phones in the classroom.
Yeah. So how do you feel about that? Some people are against it and some people are for it.
Well, I had mixed feelings about it because I do feel like it's government overreach. Mm-hmm. And one of the complaints we hear from the schools is that we send too many mandates from Concord, and then they have to enforce them all. And that's why, time is taken away from classroom instruction and things like that. But by the same token, parents were asking us to do something about cell phone use in the classroom. The teachers wanted us to do something. They wanted a larger enforcement mechanism so that they didn't have to be the only bad guys taking them away. Now, one woman did testify that she had voluntarily eliminated cell phones in her classroom. She would send a permission slip home to parents, and this was. a while ago. And then the parents would sign the form that, yes, Johnny can't have the cell phone in your classroom. He has to put it in the pocket that you've put on the door. She had like a shoe divider that she had hung on the door, and that's where the cell phones went.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of had a little experiment going on, and her students actually did really well in the hour or so that they were with her without the phones.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, I would assume that there's some way for people to contact the classroom if there's an emergency.
There's phones in all of the classrooms, yeah.
Yeah.
People want to contact their kid, though, 24/7.
I think that has a lot to do with just, like you have these lockdowns in the schools now, and everybody's scared of active shooter situations,
right.
And they want their kids to be able to have a phone for that reason.
Yeah, plus all the helicopter parenting and the positive parenting that has kept parents hyper-focused on their children.
I get called the helicopter parent because of the homeschooling. Because there's they say there's a lack of socialization.
Oh.
But I think we socialize them fairly well to a degree.
I think your daughter pouring a cup of tea was very social.
And she shakes everybody's hand, too.
Yeah.
Because we saw Mark McConkey, and I shook his hand. She walks up to him and shakes his hand.
A lot of it is personality. You asked me why I started homeschooling, and when we moved here, I did meet a young man who I had to drive him to a trailhead, and he was like 15, and he carried the conversation the whole car ride, and it wasn't long, but like 15 minutes, and I thought, I want my kids to be like that. Well, that has more to do with personality than your education experience, because I was shy and reserved in school. And my daughter, my oldest daughter in particular, I was really thankful we homeschooled her because she was hypersocial. And so I had to put more limits on her socialization, if you will.
That makes sense.
So, yeah. I mean, you have to, I was just meeting my kids' needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the classrooms, they're so big, and you form these cliques in school that we get like tribalism in school. And I think that's part of the reason why we have so much separation now. Like, I mean, we talk about protected classes, how they want to make protected classes out of every single different, instead of just being human beings like we talked
right.
about earlier. Maybe that's where some of that stems from, where you have the cliques,
We've got cliques in the State House.
Yeah.
It's like high school sometimes.
You have that everywhere.
Yeah, you can't help it. It's human behavior.
It is.
Yeah.
But I think it's good to have kids closer to the family early on.
I agree with that. Obviously, I stayed home with my kids. And there have been studies that show, don't quote me, I came across a study. It said even for an infant to be away from its mother for 24 hours can be detrimental.
Mm-hmm. They say the first 5 years of the kid's life is the most important. That's where they learn the most. So when we have so many, this idea, like feminism, to push women back into the work, push them into the workforce to begin with, it kind of demonized the whole idea of being a stay-at-home mom.
It totally demonized it. And there's so many, I always struggled with being a stay-home mom because of that, because there's always that pull like, oh, you would be contributing more to society if you were out in the world doing something.
But you're just contributing more to the GDP.
Right. If that, yeah. And then you have to pay for daycare, and everything's that's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the trade-off? And I get in trouble. I've definitely gotten in trouble on Twitter for saying things like, the problem with daycare or childcare is you can't pay to replace a mother.
But that's what we're doing.
That's what we think we're doing, but we can't pay any worker enough.
I was listening to a radio show podcast, and it was this woman called in, and she said, I'm having trouble with my daughter. She's, I don't know, 4 years old, whatever. And she said she calls the nanny mom. And she said, okay, well, how do I stop that? And she said, well, quit your job and raise your kid, because right now the nanny is the mom.
Right.
That's you see your kid for an hour in the morning and a few hours at night, and then they go to bed and they wake up and they see the nanny more than they see you. So that's who their mom is. And I think that there might be a study about it. I don't know if there is or not, but I think that there was, where if you put your kid in daycare, you're probably more likely to end up in a nursing home.
That makes sense.
Like, that's what we did. That's what you did with me.
You weren't taught how to care for somebody.
Yeah.
And you weren't taught how to sacrifice to care for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard. Staying home all day with your kids it's exhausting.
Mm.
It's you don't get a break necessarily.
My wife does it amazingly, and the 2-year-old, when I'm home with all three of them, I was like going to change the baby's diaper. The 2-year-old comes over and starts throwing diapers at me and wipes, and she's helping me.
Oh yeah.
And she does a fairly good job. She knows what the baby needs. I've been looking for something before, and she hands me the diaper cream. So they're learning from her, and it's amazing how they're sponges.
Oh yes.
They're like a blank computer that you're just downloading everything onto, uploading everything onto them, and how much they learn just from being home, and how many daycare horror stories you hear where something awful just happens, or you see a nanny cam where it's a child being abused. That's trauma that's going to stay with that kid forever. Yeah,
unfortunately, we can't escape trauma. Something's always going to happen to us that's traumatizing but you could have prevented that, mm-hmm. possibly. Yeah.
Yeah, because we were when our middle child was born, we were looking at daycare and how much it was going to cost, and after we figured out all the expenses, we weren't going to make much more money.
Right.
Well, you might as well just stay home.
Yeah. You can work on saving money instead of spending money. And lots of women can do jobs from home, work from home. Mm-hmm. Women you can do all kinds of things online after the kids are asleep if you have energy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways to bring in extra income if your family needs it.
Yeah.
When I was homeschooling, that was something that impressed me so much, was how much some people were sacrificing. I even had a friend who sacrificed immensely to send her kids to private school. That was education was so important to her family that they let a lot of other things go to the wayside. No vacations, no. I don't know. They just sacrificed their home is in a little bit of disarray, mm-hmm. because they sacrificed home upkeep, home maintenance for their children's education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about the supposed housing crisis that we're in right now?
So a crisis is something that affects you personally.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people don't like the word crisis because it's not affecting them personally. I'm not sure if it's a true crisis or if things have just gotten expensive and people don't. Well, it would be really hard in this day and age to come up with a 20% down payment. So somehow we need to help younger people be able to afford to buy homes. And I know I've listened to your other podcasts. I know you've talked a bit about the housing bills that we heard this session. There were 35, I believe, that went through the housing committee.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of those were deregulating
mm-hmm.
some of the restrictions we have in the local zoning laws, in an attempt to make it easier for builders to build homes, or just decrease some of the costs associated with building a home.
Do you think that people need to get used to having smaller homes?
I think we've gotten used to a life of luxury, and it's hard to graduate from college and not be living a luxurious life. So I think our expectations are a little high. So I don't know what the right mechanism is, because even to put a tiny home or manufactured, like a trailer, a mobile home, on a piece of property is exorbitantly expensive.
Mm-hmm.
We had a housing charrette in Carroll County last year, and we heard the results of it last fall. I can't remember the exact dates, but we went to a couple of community forums where they presented the plan to anybody in the county who wanted to come and hear it. Interestingly, the Speaker of the Maine House was part of this housing charrette. But what I sensed in the room when they presented the final plan was people were stunned how much money these smaller homes were going to cost, and that they would require an income of $120,000 a year to purchase one of these homes, and the price of the land wasn't even included because I think it was the Mount Washington Valley Housing Authority. I might have that name wrong, but they presented the charrette or sponsored the charrette, and the land for this project was going to be on the county land by the county jail.
Yeah, it was hundreds of acres, right?
Yeah, we own like 900 acres. The county does, and the sale of the land wasn't included in the plan, so there was no price for the property itself.
So did that fall through?
Yeah, it basically it just fell to the wayside. They run these housing charrettes every so often to see what they can do to build affordable housing. There is a need. I mean, the house across the street from us, which is a lovely home, but it's right on the road, just sold for $415,000. It's not. There's nothing special about it, but that was a starter home.
Yeah. So basically, both parents have to work full time if you want to have a family.
That was essentially my takeaway from the charrette, because $120,000, that's probably a double income for most people.
Mm-hmm.
For who we're talking about, for the clientele, the homeowners we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what if somebody loses their job?
Yeah.
Or they want to stay home with their kids?
Yeah.
They're trapped.
So we're about to enter a phase where both parents work at least one full-time job, and children are basically raised by strangers, raised by the state, public school. And it was, 50, 60 years ago where you could do all that on a single income?
Yeah.
I don't think that, I like what is trying to be done with these housing bills, trying to loosen restrictions, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to bring down the housing costs to a point where that is going to be fixed.
No, I don't think so either.
I think
it's a good attempt, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's at least a start in the right direction.
We need to figure out the money supply, I think. Personally.
Just print more.
Right. I mean, that's how we hire. But that's basically all they do. Whenever there's a crisis, they just print more money.
Right.
And that's why houses are twice as much as they were now.
Mm-hmm.
I have family members that bought a house for $180,000 10 years ago. They could sell that for probably $400,000 now.
Oh, I'm stunned at what my house is supposedly worth. Yeah.
But it's not worth that. It's not that.
It's not even worth it to me.
Right.
And I live there.
It's not that the house is worth more. It's the money is worth less.
Right. Right.
And I don't know if people are putting that together. I mean, I think some people are, but people that are going to the polls every 4 years because they don't vote every 2 years, they don't know that.
Right. No, my husband says he makes more money now, but it's still the same amount of money because his salary has basically tripled, but all the prices have tripled, so he's really not making any more money.
Right.
Yeah.
You're probably making less.
We probably are, actually, based on how the cost of living. It's really outrageous. I can't remember the proportion of owning your salary that goes to your mortgage payments has increased significantly over the last 20 years.
Yeah, you have to work 30% more.
Right, that's the statistic I saw, yeah.
Than your parents.
Yep.
Or my parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was like 4 or 5 times your salary for For a mortgage now it's 8 or something along the lines of
Yeah,
that.
it's something. Yeah.
It's not good.
No.
And is there anything that can be done in the state though? I mean,
Well, interestingly, when I substituted on the housing committee during an executive session for some of these housing bills. And these were very bipartisan bills, which was amazing to me because Republicans and Democrats both supported these bills. About 50-50 in the House. So there's bipartisan crossover that's unusual for legislation on these bills. But when we were done with the executive session and we were congratulating each other for getting along and working well across the aisle, the Democrats did concede that they would just spend more money if they had been in the majority. So our taxes will go up. And right now we only have property taxes. So if we elect Democrats, I don't know.
Sales tax, income tax.
Yeah. So they're not going to make anything less expensive. So it's tough. I don't know. I don't know what the real answer is.
Does anybody talk about monetary policy when it comes to those housing hearings?
I didn't listen to a lot of the housing hearings, so I'm not sure. There's debates that I see online among other state reps, but a lot of it's at the federal level. We don't have that much control over it at the state level, so there's not much we can do.
That sucks. That really sucks.
We need a Thomas Massey from New Hampshire to send a...
Yeah.
Was he the senator or the congressman?
He's congressman.
I always forget. Yes. Mm-hmm. Send him. And Rand Paul.
What do you think about the federal elections coming up as far as New Hampshire goes? Do you think that we'll have a wide field of candidates?
Well, we see people jumping into CD1, definitely. So that'll be interesting. And we have at least 2 for Senate. That'll be an interesting race in and of itself with Scott Brown and Dan Innes.
Do you think either of them have a chance of flipping that seat to I mean, they're pretty much crowning Pappas as their candidate, seems like.
Oh, they're anointing a king?
Do you think so? Do you think that there's any chance that New Hampshire's going to see some federal, some Republicans on the federal level?
It would be great, and I hope one of the candidates can run a really tight race with Chris Pappas at the very least.
It's a lot of money that's going to be involved too.
So much money involved.
Yeah,
it's outrageous.
I think
we could feed a lot of people. We could house a lot of people with the money we spend on political campaigns.
Yeah. $200 million the same for the Senate seat.
It's insane.
And there's only 1.5 million people in the state.
Yeah.
And the Democrats always outspend Republicans and outraise them.
Yep.
But then they're always talking about keeping big money out of politics.
You know, they're the best gaslighters you'll ever meet.
How much did you spend on your campaign?
This last one, I think I spent about $7,000, but in 22 I raised $17,000.
Wow.
Spent close to that.
How much of that was your own money?
I self-seeded with $2,000.
Your opponent spent $10,000 of their own money on that last election.
In my first election, my opponent spent $25,000.
Really? Wow. And they still lost.
Yep. That was that horrified me because of the amount of money that was being spent in that race.
What kind of margins was it when it came down to it?
The number of votes is outrageous. He had like 600. I can't remember what I won in the primary by. I know I need to remember those numbers, but all that matters to me is that I won.
You won.
Yeah. I didn't want to win.
No?
No. I was like, maybe this would just be over and I can go back to my normal life. And I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. How did that happen?
So what is your normal life like when you're not at the State House?
My normal life, I would love to just spend all day long working on my property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a big piece of property?
It's just 14 acres, but, we've always had farming as a hobby. Mm-hmm. And in the last few years, we've actually been able to maintain it a little better because we don't have kids at home and I wasn't running in 10,000 directions. Now I'm running in 10,000 directions again. So that's what I would prefer to do. I'm more of an introvert, and I would be content all day, never leaving home.
I think you're in the wrong business for being an introvert.
A lot of people are. It's surprising. Yeah. A lot of people are quieter than you would expect.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So do you have a lot of animals?
We just have cattle and some chickens. So not a ton.
Do you sell beef?
But we have. You can't make any money doing it. And by the way, don't let Jean Shaheen tell you that Trump is the reason that beef prices are so high.
What is the reason?
Well, the cattle, the herd size, the national herd size has been decreasing over the last decade, and it's at an all-time low right now. So beef prices are at an all-time high.
Do we import a lot of it?
You know what? I actually don't even pay that close attention to it. I just know because we're always looking at whether or not we should sell our cattle or keep it. Like, what's the best financially? We don't have a large herd. It's just mostly, like I said, a hobby, but it is an expensive hobby. So we're always looking at, is it cost effective to raise our own beef or not? And what's the market doing? Do we really want to buy our beef at the grocery store? Not really is always my answer. So I pay loose attention to what's going on. But what we could sell our bred cattle for right now, so like a pregnant cow, is like $5,000 as opposed to $2,500 a couple of years ago.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Why has it gotten so low?
Because the herds, supposedly we're not supposed to eat meat, so they reduce the herd sizes because meat's supposedly bad for us, right? The whole vegetarian movement.
Who's lower and who's they?
The government has, for one thing, told us years ago that we need to eat more grains. Mm-hmm. Well, you feed grain to cattle to fatten them up. Mm-hmm. Guess what happens to people when they eat more grains?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So those kind of movements, like, oh, beef is bad, you eat chicken, it's healthier for you. Those kinds of issues have cut down on the cattle market.
Yeah. Do you do milk too?
No. We did once during COVID. We had a dairy cow, mm-hmm. and I told my kids, I said, if you want milk, you're going to have to milk that cow. They thought water was better.
Do you meat birds? Or just eggs?
Mostly just eggs.
Have you done meat birds?
Will never. I said I would never do them again. We just ended up processing 50.
Yeah. How long did it take?
To process them?
Yeah.
Well, we hired somebody. Was a mobile unit who came, and so it wasn't. That was 3 hours, and then it was another 3 hours to cut it into parts.
That's it? For 50 birds?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Well, it was 41 by the time we got around to it, but we started with 50.
I did 60 in a day before, and that took all day.
Well, it basically took us all day, 6 hours, essentially. Yeah. Well, not counting, start to finish.
Yeah, you got to have some friends if you're going to do it, too, if you're going to do it on your own.
It's hard to find those kind of friends.
How many cows do you have, per year to, feed your family?
Oh, we easily go through one whole animal, 1.5 animals. Mm-hmm.
And the difference between store-bought and your own.
That's the reason beef. We can go through so much beef, because of the difference, because it tastes so much better.
Does it look different, too?
That's one of the reasons I don't want to raise chicken, too, because the beef is just so much better.
Yeah, you'd rather just eat beef.
Yeah.
Is it easier to get it's probably a lot easier to get a freezer full of beef than it is a freezer full of chicken, then? Well,
you're talking about 1 kill for mm-hmm. a beef as opposed to 60 kills if you raise 60 chickens. That's I find that traumatic on the processor.
Yeah.
Personally. So I just think it's easier to kill 1 cow as opposed to 60 chickens.
Hey, are you involved in 4-H?
My kids were a little bit. Yeah, they raised working steers. Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, that was kind of fun. That was for a little while we did that. That was pretty interesting.
That's good for homeschooling.
Well, yeah, but you do have to do those posters and projects like they do in public school, and that was, because sometimes you have to do presentations. That was one of the reasons I liked homeschooling, because we didn't have to do presentations unless we wanted to. With 4-H, you have to do presentations as part of it. You get awards based on your presentations, because you have to show your product.
How did they talk you into running for state representative?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Are you glad that you did it?
Yeah, every time I think it's horrible and I want to quit, like something really good happens.
That's good.
Like this week I went down and represented. I just tagged along at a meeting with a constituent, and I know I helped, even though I was kind of just. I didn't have a lot of input. I wasn't supposed to be offering a lot of input. I was kind of there for moral support and because of my position, and it was just nice to be able to help somebody.
Can you talk about what it was?
No, I'm not gonna.
Okay.
Divulge that right now. But it was just, and it wasn't even a sensitive issue, but it was just, this was somebody who had supported me in my campaign, and it was just so nice to be able to do something in return, if you will, but also something that I know would be good for our community. So.
What is your favorite thing about going down to the State House and being a state representative?
My favorite thing is knowing that I have stood up for something that I didn't just sit back. So like during COVID, I kept thinking like, what's really happening here?
What did you think was really happening?
I wasn't sure at first. My husband was deployed almost overnight, a month into COVID. Like he was called up one day and the next day he was gone. He was deployed to work. He's in the Navy Reserves. And I thought, I really didn't know what was happening then because I had been telling everybody, oh, it's a government conspiracy. Don't worry about it. And then I'm like, holy, what is this? What are they doing to us? And when he was deployed, that's when I really got nervous because
Did you know where he went?
Yeah, he went to a hotel room for 2 weeks to be quarantined while they made sure nobody had COVID. And then he ended up not ever doing anything but being deployed for 2 months because he was supposed to go on the Teddy Roosevelt was the ship near the Guam that had COVID, and they were preparing the island for an influx of COVID, and then that never happened. So he ended up not ever having to do anything with it. But when he was leaving, I wasn't sure. And I thought for sure we were going into like World War III or something because the military never calls people up overnight. So anyway, I started wondering and thinking about standing up for what I really believed in. And there aren't really a lot of ways to be effective. I mean, there are, but this was just, I guess I thought it was the most obvious way to stand up for what I believe in and be effective. And I know when I go down to vote that I'm representing the people who voted for me. And I think about them every time I drive down there. So for those reasons, I'm like really glad that I was elected. And it's hard. I mean, it's hard because as you notice, it's not necessarily my personality.
Yeah.
But I know I've done what I said I was going to do down there.
Now, looking back at COVID in hindsight, what do you think it was now?
I think it was a plan to see how they could control us and get us to cooperate with government authority.
How much of it you think was tied to the election?
Oh, yeah, that was
my first
huge.
thought.
I didn't even think about that. I didn't even care that much about the politics because I was really actually annoyed with Operation Warp Speed.
Yeah, I feel probably pretty similar to you about that. I mean, because I feel like things were going fairly well in January 2020, and we had just signed that trade deal with China. And I know that from like November to December, I had a really gnarly cold that went on for about like 4 or 5 weeks. And a lot of other people had the same thing. I remember talking to one of my insurance agents and they said, oh, you got that cold that's lingering for like 3 weeks. I'm like, yeah, it sucks. And then they started talking about the China virus, which the Wuhan flu is what the media was calling it at the time. And because then it wasn't racist to say the Wuhan flu. And then January, February, March, and then all of a sudden all these governors started locking down simultaneously.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw that, it was starting in blue states. I felt like I noticed it in blue states more than red states, and then everybody followed, and the whole world followed, and they passed that $10 trillion or $8 trillion bill. So it seemed coordinated to me. And to me, I remember arguing with a Democrat online and said, all right, if we can't go to work, then I guess we can't vote this year either. Like, and they, oh, no, we can still, because the primaries were coming up.
Right.
So how do we do this? You know?
Yeah.
So to me, it was more about mail-in ballots and just manipulating the election. And that's what I thought it was all about. And control. Mm-hmm. It was like a trial run to see how much they could put us through and how much we'd put up with.
Yeah, we put up with a lot.
A lot of people put up with it. Yeah. And if you didn't, let's say you were in New York or Maine, like there was that one restaurant owner in Maine who I think he put Janet Mills' cell phone number on Tucker Carlson. That guy, I think he got run out of Maine.
Yeah. And
they used the power of the state wherever they could. And I hope that people don't fall for that again, but I don't think that people would stand up to it again. I think it would be the same way.
Yeah, unfortunately, maybe fewer people would put up with that again.
Maybe.
But I'm still surprised how many people.
Maybe people relocated.
Government controlling their lives.
Well, and it wasn't even just government. It was just individuals that, I can rat on these people. I can rat on those people.
Well, that's the scariest part of it to me.
Yeah.
Is people really wanting to rat out their neighbors. Mm-hmm. You can't trust people if they're willing to turn you in for anything.
Yeah.
Like anything. And that's one of the things, like back to that fertilizer bill. It was the same thing. Mm-hmm. Your neighbors have to turn you in. And they will.
Yeah. But if you're polluting a communal water area, that's one thing. But not wearing a mask because you're afraid of a cold.
You're polluting the air.
Right. And the things that they were just making people do, wearing masks to go into a restaurant.
It was crazy.
It was nuts.
Yeah.
And hopefully it doesn't happen again, but probably would.
Something will.
I remember at the same time there was a lot of the World Economic Forum stuff that came out about Agenda 2030 and you'll own nothing and you'll be happy, and they were talking about 15-minute cities, which ironically we're hearing a lot about right now in New Hampshire with
the housing bills.
With these housing bills. And I have a hard time believing that the libertarians are 2030 globalists.
Well, it's so I heard a statistic. I think that the population per square mile in Massachusetts is 900, and our New Hampshire it's 157. By the time we cram that many people into there isn't a builder who wants to build that many homes or facilities or anything. That's a lot of people, and I don't think New Hampshire in general. Most people in New Hampshire want to be left alone anyway. They don't want the 15-minute city. They moved up here to be more rural in general, unless you're living in Manchester or Portsmouth or Concord. And for whatever reason, people like to live in cities. Have your 15 minutes. I love the idea of being able to walk to everything, but I don't want it forced on me, you know?
It's nice to go visit a city sometimes, but I like going back to the rural areas after about a couple of days. You know, it's just I like the quiet far more than I like the cities.
Yeah.
But I think that people should just be upset about the fact that the only thing that we have to offer after 5 years from COVID is here's your tiny home for $300,000. That should be pissing people off.
Well, that did contribute to the cost of housing significantly because people were moving in droves to get out of the cities.
Yeah, and I don't know if that could have been something that was part of the plan. If there is a plan, if there's a cabal, I don't know. Yeah. But I definitely think that COVID was coordinated, and that we're seeing the effects of it, and
Yep.
we're going to see the effects of it for a long time.
Yep.
I think the homeschooling uptick is an effect of it, and it's a positive one, in my opinion. People wanting to take their kids out of public school because they don't trust the public schools anymore. They have every right to.
Yeah, education needs to be at the forefront of our communities, and we've kind of lost sight of education as being what's important. Even on the Education Committee, we don't talk about actual academics.
What do you talk
student
about?
learning. It's all out of policy. I mean, we do talk about some of it, but how it actually occurs, how learning actually occurs, we don't talk about that at the state level. That's not what you hear people arguing about. They're arguing about money and the funding and how many students are going to be left in public schools. And heaven forbid, part of the housing bill's arguments was that too many students would move into the community if we built more houses that were affordable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and again, I said earlier, we need young people.
Mm-hmm.
We are one of the oldest states in the country, and 30,000 people moved into the state since 2020. But Carroll County is I think it might even be the oldest county in the country or close to it. The median age, I think, is approaching 65.
So what happens when all the elderly people, because I mean, they want to keep their taxes down. They don't want to increase their taxes, so we don't want kids moving.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird thing to be anti-kid, but that seems to be what it is. But what happens when the old people start dying off and there's less people to pay taxes?
Who's going to take care of these older people if we don't have younger people moving in?
That's true.
But they're always wondering where the nurses are. Or at the county nursing home, the big thing is, why don't we have
There's a huge shortage,
permanent staff? Why are we using agency staff? Well, where are these people?
Where are they?
I don't know.
When's the last time they didn't have a shortage?
We're in a population decline. I think we're only reproducing at 1.6 child per person instead of the 2.1 that we need to replace our population.
Yeah.
So I don't know where they think these people are magically appearing from.
Yeah.
You're doing your share.
Working on it. I wish I had more room, but things are. I was thinking about it the other day. I was going through a dealership. I go through a lot of the used dealerships because we've been kind of looking for a minivan, but we don't want to spend $50,000 for a brand new one. Mm-hmm. And even like a used one that's all-wheel drive, you're looking at $30,000. So I'm always just seeing what there is. But if you go to a dealership, you might see 2 minivans, maybe 1, if any. So that's one thing I was thinking about. You don't see minivans anymore because people aren't having kids. You see these tiny little SUVs. Remember, do you remember like the late 90s when everybody had these giant SUVs? Everybody had bigger families. Now they're all little SUVs. Like, we have a little Encore. It's a tiny little SUV. Like, we don't even drive it anymore when it's all of us. We have to bring the pickup truck because the oldest is crammed in between the car seats, and it's not even safe to drive around like that.
Right.
But you don't find minivans anymore. If you do, they're either really expensive or they're in really bad shape.
I had not even noticed the lack of minivans.
Yeah.
That's funny because I tell my daughter, like, you need to buy a minivan because they're so practical.
Good luck.
It's better than a pickup truck.
Good luck, though. And it's going to be at least $30,000, and it's going to have 150,000 miles.
Wow.
Yeah. Any new vehicle now is $50,000-$60,000. You can buy a decked out pickup truck for what used to be able to buy a house now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like
$80,000. Like, my house is valued at $80,000 like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
If I want to go buy a new pickup truck, it's the same price.
Right.
Things are not worth what they say they're worth. But
if we're buying them, then they're worth what they say they're worth.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
The money's worth less. That's what it is.
Yeah.
We just need to start teaching people that.
Yeah.
We've been starting to show the oldest, like the Tuttle twins.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And they teach all about like Bitcoin and the Federal Reserve and stuff. It's a little silly watching it, but he likes it.
That's good.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that he understands it, because every time he gets a birthday and he gets $20, it burns a hole in his pocket and he wants to just spend it. And I'm like, dude, buy some silver. I was like, if I could go back in time,
Right.
kid, don't waste your money. Go buy some silver.
Right.
Go buy some gold. But I wouldn't have listened back then either, I don't think, when I was a kid.
No, probably not.
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe if he watches enough of those shows, he'll buy into it.
Yeah, because we don't have a lot of screen time in our house, just because we see the how addicted they get to it. And it's like, okay, let's take a step back.
It's the easy way out of parenting.
I think that I think the cell phones out of the classroom is probably a good thing.
I think so too.
Yeah.
In the long run.
Yeah, that teacher that's doing that, that's good.
Yeah.
There needs to be more of that.
Yeah, we actually I've been reading a book called The Anxious Generation.
I've heard of it.
Jonathan Haidt, a well-known sociologist, and depression, anxiety drastically increased in around 2010 with the iPhone, the first one that the camera could be flipped around on, and people looking at themselves all the time.
Yeah,
taking selfies, internally analyzing yourself based on the world's view of you. Yeah.
Yeah, we have it very easy in this country. This is the best country in the world to live in, to the point where first world problems are I mean, you wouldn't find those problems in third world countries. I mean, people are worried about eating, Right. But here, it's like Joe Rogan says, here poor people are fat.
Yes. Joe Rogan can get away with saying things like that.
But it's true.
Right. Yeah.
It's very true.
Yeah. And poor people have cell phones.
Poor people have cell phones.
Yep.
Yeah.
That we have to take away in school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think the future of New Hampshire looks like in like 5 years, 10 years?
I just hope we can maintain our Republican majority for another 5 years.
You think we can in this next election? There's some midterms coming up.
Yeah, the midterms are rough because they bring up the free state argument. We've got all these protests all over. Wolfboro has one every weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people are buying it. I've had people reach out to me saying, I can't believe what I'm seeing on the corner. How can I get involved?
So they're doing that in multiple cities, too.
Yeah.
And are they doing that across the country as well? Is that a nationwide protest?
Well, that one on the one No Kings one was nationwide. But I don't know if these protests are nationwide, but they're always well organized.
Is it the DNC organizing them?
No, they have all of their other sub-operatives that do these things for them.
I remember down in Boston in 2017, there were some kids that were rallying free speech protests, and it was a group called Boston Free Speech, and they were like 18 years old, and they wanted they were trying to push free speech in universities. They wanted the federal government to take away funding from universities that didn't guarantee free speech to conservatives. That was their big thing. And Antifa showed up at one of the rallies in May, and it was like a 50-50 percentage. Half of them were Antifa and half of them were pro. It was a free speech rally, so they were protesting free speech, essentially. And that one went all right, but then right after that, I think the Charlottesville protest happened. And Marty Walsh said there was another Boston Free Speech rally scheduled for, I think it was August or September of that year. And Marty Walsh said, we don't want Nazis in Boston. And they weren't Nazis. There was a very diverse crowd of people that were protesting for free speech. And the organizers were 18-year-old kids. So that got publicized, and there was huge groups of people. There was 40,000 people that went to Boston. I don't know if you remember it, but they protested the free speech rally that was being held. And I think probably 30 people showed up for the rally this time around. But there were 40,000 people surrounding them in the gazebo in Boston. And to the point where they had to have security. The police had to pretty much cordon off the place. You could go into it if you wanted to, but you had to walk through a mob of people behind the corrals. So not that many people went into it. And then the police had to escort them out and drive them miles away in armored vehicles just to get them out safely. The free speech people. And when I was there, I went to it. I was in the crowd. I remember the Socialist Workers Party of America was there, and among others. And so there was all unions and organizations, and there was a guy walking through when there was another big crowd of people coming, and he was giving out newspapers, and I bought one off of him for like $1. They were from the Communist Party. Yeah, so they were out there ironically selling newspapers. They weren't just giving them out, Right. But there was a flyer in that called for a protest to start. I think it was supposed to start on November 4th, 2017. It was supposed to go until Pence and Trump stepped down. So that was a big part of a realization that there's huge organizations all across the country that are able to rally huge amounts of people all at once. And that's kind of what I felt like the No Kings protest was.
Yeah, probably.
And they're able to push this weekly protest that they're getting people to go out to, but they can't get the grassroots movement going with it.
Right. Yeah, we have that even in the State House. Like, I don't know if you remember or heard, during the budget season, one of the supposed proposals was to sell the state library.
Yeah.
And we instantly, within an hour, started receiving emails to oppose the sale of the state library. That's how quickly they were motivated.
Yeah.
And I thanked the state rep. I immediately said, "Oh, great. Thanks for filling my inbox."
Was that a joke? Somebody said that was just a joke.
It was a good tactic.
Was it good?
It was a great tactic.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
You don't think it made Republicans look bad?
For a minute.
Yeah.
Yep.
I saw that and I was like, oh man, it gives them headlines. That's the only problem. That's what I didn't like about that.
Some people have some really thick skin, and there were Republicans who got mad about it too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of my friends, she was immediately on Facebook, help me oppose my party.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't think it was a good look, just because it gives them headlines, and then they're going to take that to voters.
Oh, I know. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I know. We'll be the party that wants to eliminate libraries. Yes. We already are the book banners, right?
Right.
Even though we're not banning books.
Right.
Just giving parents a vehicle in which to oppose the books, the material.
The governor vetoed that too.
Yes, she did.
I was disappointed in that.
Yeah.
Which is, I know I've explained it on here before, and I've had Glenn Cordelli on here to talk about it.
He was your first guest.
He was the first guest, so...
He's not afraid of anything.
No, he's not. He's very brave. Yeah, it's just another thing, though, that they take and they run with, and they spread misinformation about.
Yeah, they're really good at the spin.
Mm-hmm.
You're really good at it. And I think that the Democrats are definitely more coordinated. That's one of the reasons when I started seeing you post on Facebook, I wanted to reach out because it's not often that I see somebody seeing through the issues the way you were seeing through the issues, and then actually taking the time to comment.
Well, that's easy.
Yeah, well, and
more people just need to do it.
Yeah, well,
but I saw the way that Glenn was being portrayed. And I think I met him at a meeting, and my wife thinks he's like this adorable little old man, and that's you can get fired.
I won't tell him she said that.
Yeah, but she said he's just a grandpa. I'm like, what? Because I've shown her some of the things that they've said about him, and he's not what they say.
No, and he has a name tag. He'll add these names to the name tag. Like we went to a candidates forum when the first year I was running for election. He had been called, I think he was called a threat to humanity, and he had a name tag with that on it. So he'll just embrace it and be like, well, now I'm a threat to humanity.
Well, that's why he was the first one that came on here, and he was probably the first one I approached about this. And I said, people hate you because of the things that are said about you, and I think it'd be good for you to sit down and actually talk to people in a long form manner.
He talks all the time. He goes all over the state talking to people and talking to organizations, and he organized the Education Options event in Wolfboro. He's always working.
Yeah.
He works harder than almost anybody I've ever met in my life.
That time that I played it on that first episode when he went up, and I know this isn't the first time he did it, but when he went up and he read from those books, I've been told online plenty of times that those books don't exist, that they're not in schools. And then he just sent me something the other day about they found that type of material in schools in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they just haven't seen it for themselves when they're saying that that's not true and that's a lie. And
no, I think they want children to read these books.
Why?
I'm not really good at explaining this, but I think it's part of the queer theory, and I think it's part of confusing people. The sexual nature of those books is confusing to children.
Yeah, it's
confusing to normal adults. I mean, one of the ways I describe, so one of the issues we had with that bill, those bills in particular, was how you describe obscenity. And Representative Cordelli was passing out some of the material in committee one day. And my seatmate was an 18-year-old state rep. And my instinct was, she can't look at this.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
And that's now, and I've told her this. She knows that is now my definition of obscenity, is I don't want my 18-year-old seatmate to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it was I didn't do it, but it was,
it's a reflex.
I had an internal physical instinct to move the material away from her.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And they say that it can be used by Christian nationalists to take things out of schools that they don't think should be there. Well, does it?
Stuff is taken out of schools all the time that people don't think should be there. Books have been taken out of the libraries that aren't there. Even when I was homeschooling, I couldn't find a lot of the classical books, especially the younger, children's books that I needed or wanted to have to homeschool my kids. I had to order them online. There were a lot of specialty books that were older publications that I couldn't get at the library. And actually, they had culled some of that material in advance of renovating our library. So they had made the collection smaller. So those books weren't available at the library. Not every book, it's not the Library of Congress. Your local public library is not the Library of Congress. Not every book is available.
Right. And all that did was give a vehicle to take, and you can probably find those books in a public library, but this is just to keep them out of the school libraries.
Right.
Yeah.
And not even to keep them out, to contest that they're even there. It's not even the mechanism to remove them. It's basically a request to remove them.
And at the same time, I saw that there was a bill that went in to allow parents to see their kids' library cards.
Oh, yeah.
To see what they're taking out, what they're reading.
Yeah, that bill was because a state rep had requested to have books reserved. He had requested books. They weren't available at the library, so he was waiting for them to come in, and he had made the request using his daughter's library card. It was probably whatever the librarian had open. Who knows how it happened. And when the library called and said that the book was in, he asked which one, and he was told that he couldn't be informed because the book was on his daughter's library card. And he said, that's kind of crazy. I just want to know if it's my book or her book.
And she's underage.
And she was a minor. So he submitted that bill to allow parents to see the library record. I mean, and it's as simple as, what book is it? Because I want to look for it in my house. It's probably under the couch somewhere, but I might not even know what the cover looks like or what the title is. How do I know what I'm looking for? Maybe somebody actually put a book away and it's on the shelf and mixed in with all the rest of them. That it could be that simple. That as a parent, you need to know that.
Do you think it's this fear that people on the left just don't trust parents, or they think that they're going to abuse their kids if they think that they're a certain way?
Yeah, the left doesn't like parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, in general.
Like if you want to question what's going on in the school, they have a huge issue with
I shouldn't say they don't like parents. They don't like parental authority.
Right. They like state authority.
Right. It's kind of crazy that we had to have a bill like the Parental Bill of Rights.
Yeah.
Why we have to, put our foot down about parental authority. But it's been being undermined for years. Parents have been having their rights taken away. And a long, slow creep.
But it's turning around.
I hope so.
Yeah. Which
is ironic, too, because at the same time, parents pay more attention to their kids in some ways than ever before.
That's a good point.
So it's kind of confusing to watch.
Do you think that more people do you think that maybe they're looking towards, like we were told for a while there, trust the experts, and maybe just parents don't feel confident that they can make those decisions for their kids, so they're going to other authorities?
Oh, that's possible. Yeah. I had a constituent reach out to me because she was concerned about the way her grandchildren were being parented. And she thought that might have something to do with what's going on in schools. And so she wanted to get together and start talking politics because she was concerned about how her own grandchildren were being raised. And it was the parenting method that disturbed her.
Were the parents more lefty?
The daughter-in-law was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just very different. And she couldn't reason with the kids when she was watching them. So if she not even reason, she couldn't tell them to do something simple like put on your pants. There would be a temper tantrum because somebody had told them to do something, as opposed to giving them multiple options. Like, which leg would you like to put in first? I don't know.
I feel bad for teachers today.
I do too, honestly.
Like I know that we homeschool, and basically we don't really trust the state to raise our kids in a enclosed setting like that, because it seems like they don't want parents to know what's going on in there. But at the same time, it's not so much the teachers. The teachers are expected to pretty much babysit 30 kids all day,
right?
And educate them too. And then when the kids are acting up, I think they bring it to the parents' attention, and then the parents don't want teachers disciplining their kids.
The parents don't want the teachers disciplining their kids, and the parents are afraid to discipline their kids. That's what I see. I mean, and that's been a long time coming too. And I don't know how you could expect teachers to maintain discipline in the classroom if the kids don't know what discipline is. And you've got a lot of split families.
Yeah.
Too. So it's hard to discipline your kids and be the bad guy when they might be going to the other parent who's the good guy. And so who's asserting authority over those kids? And the kids want boundaries.
Yeah.
So I do feel bad for teachers. I really do. I think they're being asked to do a lot that they shouldn't be being asked to do. In terms of classroom management.
Do you think that smaller classroom sizes would help?
I don't know. I haven't been in a classroom, so honestly, I don't know how they function. I just know what I see and hear. So I raised 4 kids. I have no idea how a teacher can manage a classroom of 15, 20 kids. It's pretty amazing when they get a whole classroom to sit and listen. I don't know. I mean, they have to know all those kids do and what's going on.
The only thing
and they only have them for 9 months.
The most respected teachers when I was a kid were like the older, rougher, scarier ones, you know, like that worked.
I had a hippie for a 7th grade teacher, and he's my favorite teacher.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my mom always rolled her eyes, but he did a lot of hands-on learning, and I still remember so many of the things that we learned that year.
Yeah, but you were probably an easy kid compared to some of the other kids too.
I don't know, but it was just that year was that year made a difference. That teacher made a difference, you know.
My mom went to Catholic school, and she actually had like
nuns.
Yeah.
Oh.
And they had rulers, and it was rough.
I've heard that. I went to Catholic schools too.
Did you?
But we hardly had any nuns left by the time I was in Catholic school.
They would beat the kids.
That's what everybody says.
Yeah.
But some of them had to. I mean, because there were so many kids. They had classrooms of like 70 kids, some of them, back in the day. And I did a little bit of a history on, because we have this clause in the Constitution. It's called a Blaine Amendment. And Representative Cordelli has been trying for years to eliminate the Blaine Amendment from the New Hampshire Constitution. You can't send money to sectarian schools or use public funds for sectarian schools. And it was really a slam against Catholics because at the time, this was mid-1800s, and it was he was a congressman from Maine. His last name was Blaine. And he put the amendment in, my history's wrong on it, it's fuzzy on it. But in New Hampshire, we had, at that time, there were Catholic schools that were operating in parallel to the public schools. And the reason we had Catholic schools as opposed to the public schools is because the Catholics didn't like the Bible that was being taught in the public schools. And so that was the issue there. But the Catholic schools were also taking some of the pressure and the burden off of the public schools, which would have been overrun because there was a lot of immigration, new people coming into the country at that time. And so a lot of those people were Catholics, Irish and the Italians, French, especially in this area. And so eventually they had to come to an agreement with the state because the Catholic schools actually weren't being as well maintained physically, and classroom sizes were overloaded. So that's why they had to use the rulers, because they had to keep too many kids under control. And they weren't educated teachers. They were nuns who had been put in those positions, I'm sure. So hopefully we don't have we have more highly qualified teachers these days.
Yeah. I mean,
but they carry that bad rap with them. Yeah, no doubt.
I like what's going on with the expansion of the EFAs.
Yeah, I hope that's a good thing that they maxed out the applications.
Yeah.
Which is astonishing.
But that shows it's popular and it'll keep growing. I mean, what Glenn had said is that education looks a lot different in 10 years from now.
I'm sure it will. I hope this opens up a lot of opportunities for teachers, the teachers who may not be happy teaching in the public school system, and gives them opportunities to branch out on their own and be creative and innovative.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, we have an old schoolhouse right around the corner from here. It's privately owned at this point, but I mean, that's how it used to be. You had a little schoolhouse. There wasn't separate grades. Every kid just went to the same schoolhouse.
Right. There were. And I like that model, too, because I like the integrated ages. It's more like a family.
Yeah.
If you will.
Yeah.
And the older kids teach the younger kids. You don't have to give them an assignment to teach the younger kids, but they learn by example.
We see that here at home because of the age differences that we have. It's amazing to watch. It's really cool. Is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I think that, I think we need more of that.
Yeah, my granddaughter goes to a daycare where there's 2 little boys who are like a year and 2 older than her. And I know she's picked up so many physical skills just from watching those 2 boys that I don't think she would have if it was just us at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or even if she was with other 2-year-olds. Because they're always showing off what they can do.
Yeah, and she's always
and they're just one step ahead of her.
That's awesome.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that integrated approach. But yeah, I really hope that that teachers can innovate. I mean, they're trapped. Some of them feel trapped because of the retirement and the
benefits
and healthcare benefits. But hopefully, there's enough of them who can step out of the system and start their own ventures.
The unions, the teachers' union, they play a big part in the policy that's shaped, I'm sure.
A big part.
And how much of that have you seen down in Concord?
A lot. When I was on the Education Committee last year, the AFT New Hampshire and NEA New Hampshire, they were at almost every single hearing and executive session. Yeah.
And what kind of policies do they promote when they're there?
They will try to work with us if they think something is reasonable. They have their own agendas that they try to promote.
Do you think they do a good job supporting teachers?
One of the first presentations that I heard was about how unhappy teachers were in their jobs. And I thought, well, if you were doing your job supporting teachers as the teachers union, why aren't you helping to make them happier in their jobs? Like, it's not my role as a state representative to make sure teachers are happy in their jobs. That has a lot to do with local culture. So that was my first interaction really with teachers unions. Mm-hmm. And I was stunned to hear that as if it was something that we had to fix.
Wow. I think it's amazing that the head of the teachers union makes $450,000 a year. And she just came out and said that we need NPR so that we can fight fascism.
I thought, well, it's better than needing it for the weather. So.
Yeah, $450. She makes more than the president. I've said that multiple times, but she makes more than the president. So and then teachers are supposedly buying, books and pencils and paper and all the supplies they need for their kids. Wow.
And yet we vote every single year to increase the budget.
Mm-hmm. So
how can that be?
Yeah.
Yep. That doesn't make any sense at all. It's obviously the funding is not filtering down to the classroom like it should be.
Is it going all to administration?
Well, we have seen a lot go to administration. Administration has far outpaced enrollment, which has declined. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember what year it reached its peak, but administration has just been rapidly increasing and enrollments decreasing. And who knows what the EFAs will do. Only 10,000 students across the state. That's not a huge number.
Do you know how many?
Make a dent and too much of a dent. And I don't know how many have left public schools to take the EFAs. We don't have all those numbers in yet.
Do you know how many students are in public school now?
There was about 155,000, I think, the last I heard.
So less than 10% are EFAs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. And you would think that...
You would think that
that we had closed every public school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a good piece
of info. The sky is falling. Yeah,
right.
It's so insignificant, the amount of money that we spend on EFAs in comparison to what we spend on public education.
And it doesn't take away from public education funds.
No, not at all. They just want everything. Like in my mind, whenever I hear like we need more money, I think of Little Shop of Horrors and the Venus flytrap. Feed me.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Not enough blood.
And the monster keeps getting bigger.
Right. Oh. That's how, every time that's what I think of.
When does the House start having sessions again?
Not until January, unless we hold a veto day.
And you start introducing bills this fall?
In September, we can submit our legislative service requests, otherwise known as LSRs.
And
we have a week time to do that.
1 week?
1 week.
Do you have any that you're going to introduce?
I might have one or two on home education because there's some contention in the community over EFAs. There's some groups of libertarian home educating organizations who are adamantly opposed to the education freedom accounts.
Because it's going to bring in regulation?
They think it's going to bring regulation into home education. And it's kind of blurs the lines a little bit because in the community, you don't know who's receiving an EFA and who isn't. They tend to be purists. They don't want the government involved. So that's one of the reasons they don't like the EFAs.
They don't have to take them, though?
No.
Okay.
No.
Problem solved.
No one's forcing anybody's hand to take an EFA.
So what is your idea? What is...
Well, I've been working with a couple of other legislators, and I'm not sure who's submitting the bill, but we have one idea to just cement more firmly that home education is not, if you receive an EFA, you're not home educating your child. There's a separate pathway. So even though what you're doing looks like home education, it's not technically home educating under another pathway in the law. So there's like two statutes, the 193A, they've started referring to themselves as, I'm a 193A self-funded home education. And then anybody who is receiving an education freedom account, they're the 194F home education. But you can use the education freedom account for non-public school, private school, special ed, multitude of things, not just home educating. That's one of the issues we see is that when EFAs first came out, people thought all homeschoolers were receiving them.
So if you have a kid in public school that is special needs, can you apply for an EFA for extra services?
No, they would have to be taken out of public school.
Okay, so they'd have to be in some sort of private institution.
Right. Yeah. So when you receive an EFA, if you have a special needs child, you're no longer eligible to receive those services at the school. At the public school. So you would be paying for them either with the EFA funds or on your own.
Okay.
Yep.
And is there anything else that you plan on tackling in this?
I want to keep it to a minimum because we don't have access to our regular building. We have to. It's being renovated, so we're going to be off campus for a year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not really planning
nothing too crazy
anything yet.
Okay.
There may be a few things up our sleeve, but I haven't planned anything.
And
huge.
So do you think that you would plan on running again next year?
That's a really good question. The answer kind of has to be yes, because I feel like it's a duty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I'm doing my civic duty by being there. And I feel like I kind of just have to be there.
You just enjoy it too much now?
It's a weird love-hate thing. Yeah, I do. Even though it doesn't seem like I should,
mm-hmm.
I do enjoy it quite a bit.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for coming by and talking with me, and I hope that when you figure out how the legislation that you want to introduce, that you'll come back and talk about it. And do you have any social medias or a website that you want to plug or anything like that?
I am on let's see, I'm Vote Katy, and I don't even use my website very often. I'm on Facebook as Katy Peternel State Representative. I'm on Twitter, and I'm on the legislative website. Yeah, I can be contacted that way.
Jen Court.
Yeah, and then if anybody wants to support Republicans, they can go to electhouserepublicans.com because we definitely need to make sure that we maintain a majority in 26.
Okay. Thank you for coming by.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to meet you and see your family again.
Thanks, everyone.